Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Alpha Fish here, and today we are going to be looking at walls, alright? So, the big thing about walls is that once they break, they're done for, right? And you have to wait for them to repair, and even though you do get repair speeds, you don't get a lot of them very quickly throughout the game, so unless you're paying for your wall to be repaired, which would be also very expensive, especially with gems, because the bigger your wall is, the longer it takes to repair. So this is why a lot of people don't bother using a wall to begin with. So should I use a wall? Should I not use my wall? All right. So these are the two big things. First off, we're going to go over reasons to not use your wall. So to begin with, as I just stated, walls take a long time to repair, and once they break after a few hits, it can sometimes it can take up to like 2 months for your wall to fully repair. Okay. On top of that, you have to maintain your traps, and traps cost a lot of resources. So early on in the game, walls are a bad idea. Like, you don't want to build or put research into your wall early on in the game. It's pointless. Um, Also, if your account is a war account and you use it for war, for healing troops and attacking and training troops for that account, if you're using that account just for attacking, you don't want to put any wall research into it, because if you want to take it into Dragon Arena, if your castle is always getting hit, taking hits, your wall is going to hold your account back from like Dragon Arena and different things. So um, it's important to make sure you know what you're doing with your wall before you start it, because you can't undo the research that you put into your wall. I guess you can like dismantle your wall, like you can. No, you can't. So you can't demolish your wall like your other buildings. So just be careful what you do with your wall, guys. Um, Reasons to use your wall. Okay, so basically what I use my wall for is if I forget to shield, right? If I forget to shield and I get a notification that says so-and-so is attacking your turf, all right? I immediately know that I have to log in. But depending on my internet speed, where I am, my signal, my cell phone, or my internet, um, it could take me a while to log in. So I know that if this person is trying to solo me, they're going to have to break my wall first. And depending on how big your wall is, it could take them a couple of tries, even if they use Siege. If they're using Tier 4 Siege, you're going to need a really big wall, okay? Um, Majority of the time, if it's a Titan player and they send a bunch of Siege at your wall, it's going to break, regardless of how big your wall is. That's just the way the game is. That's what Siege is made for, is to break walls, guys. But if somebody just thinks that you might have some resources or something and they want to take a peek and start sending you marches, they're all going to die at your wall if it's built well enough. So what I recommend is 1,000,008 wall HP, wall health. I'm currently sitting at like a little less than 900,000 wall health at the moment. I do have tier 3 traps, and if you're going to use your wall, you need tier 3 traps. Like, there's no if, ands, maybes. You need tier 3 traps. The reason for this is because tier 1 and tier 2 traps both break very easily, especially if the person is sending tier 3 soldiers, which majority of the time, if your kingdom or whatever, if you've been playing longer than 3 months, everyone around you has tier 3, alright? So you're going to need tier 3 traps. And they do work against tier 4, not as well as tier 4 traps, but they do work against tier 4, especially if you have a bunch of archers, because archers fire over top of the wall. Alright, so if you got a bunch of archers that add damage before your wall falls down, heroes, depending on what you're doing, I recommend using heroes to help your army that you have behind your wall, your troops, alright? You can put in different heroes that have like attack, like trap attack, trap health, stuff like that, you can do that, but I don't recommend it unless you're wall trapping. And yes, wall trapping is a thing. The reason a lot of people don't do wall traps is because once the wall breaks, you have to wait like a month or two, unless you have, was it Mole Shaman, that can heal your wall like 50%. So, it's easier just to use troops to trap, alright? So, you can use your wall to trap, but I recommend you use your wall for like emergency situation. Of course, if you're trying to eat solos and you have a big wall, it's going to take a while for your wall to break, so you can see how your troops can handle the solos. So that's also something to think about. As far as building your wall up, just simply upgrading it will make a big difference because it adds base stats instead of just percentages, which is probably the most helpful thing you can do for your wall, is just to do a regular wall upgrade. Alright, you definitely want tier 3 traps. We're going to go into some research here, and we're going to look at wall stuff. Now, before I start scrolling through this tree, I want you guys to know that I have spent about 6 months of pure research time. I mean, that's including speed ups, that's including research reduction, all that craziness, alright? This is after all of that, after I got my research heroes to gold, so on and so forth, and I am free to play, so keep that in mind as well. I put 6 months worth of time into researching my walls so that I would feel more comfortable if I mess up on my shield and someone tries to attack me. So, I have put a lot of time and effort into this, alright? So that's why I have 800, or almost nearly 900,000 wall health, alright? So, I'd say for your wall specifically, the most important things, 2 things to have for your wall and wall research, is wall strength, which gives you health, alright? This increases your base score of health, alright? This is not a percentage. This is your base health. This is very, very important, alright? Because there are different things that will increase by percentage, alright? So, wall strength is very, very important. You want that raw health, alright? So, as you see, I have not continued some of this because some of this crap, look, 73 days. It's insane, alright? I mean, honestly, with my help reduction and the amount of speed ups I get, this would probably take me close to a month to get done if I really wanted to do it. But I have some other stuff to work on, so I'm putting this aside since I have my wall to a point where I am comfortable with it. So also if I go out to like take a hit, I also have to keep in mind that I'm gonna have to heal my wall if I want to participate in the next Dragon Arena. Alright? And I tell you, even though I have all this research, my wall for healing, like, if my wall is completely destroyed, it'll take me, I think it's about 40 days to heal, and that's also because I have some like wall healing reduction stuff somewhere. So let's get into this a little bit more, this research. So wall strength is definitely important. This tree, you're also going to want trap, defense, power, and durability, alright? So, I'd say all 3 of these are equally important. I'm sure one of the stats is probably better than the other. It's in order, it probably is attack, health, and defense. It probably mimics the same pattern as troops, would be my guess. I have never tested it. But I'd say all 3 of these are fairly equal of importance because when you get all the way down here and you unlock your tier 3 traps, you're going to want to reduce how much they're damaged, right? Because that's going to cost you resources to replace them. That's pretty much it for this specific tree. The next tree is probably more important than, well, no, it's just as important, because this tree is really important to reach tier 3 traps and then also wall strength. Oh, let's look at how long this one. See, 86 days. This one's longer than the other one. And this one I think was like 90 something if I remember right. This 10 out of 10 was like 90 something days. It's crazy. So we're going to look at upgrade defenses 2. The second wall tree, and this one is really important because it does add some like health, but it's percentage. See, this is what I was talking about. So the other one is raw stat value, which is very important. This one is a multiplier, so make sure you max out the first tree of health before you come over here, because this one will amplify whatever you have. So the higher your base stat value is, the higher this will amplify it, alright? So make sure that you're working towards that. I'd say wall health, wall defense are the two most important things for your wall. Wall repair is useful, but it's not as important because you want your wall to last in that moment when you're getting hit. So wall defense, wall durability, very important in this tree, alright? So trap retrieval, so if you look at this, it says unlocks repair for retrieved tier 1 traps. Alright, trap retrieval. I don't know if this actually goes for all traps or if it just goes for tier 1. That's why I haven't fully upgraded it. But if you're working on durability, you're going to have to get this up regardless. So trap retrieval, if I remember right, you can get it up to the point where you can save like half of your traps that are hit, which is really good, considering that if you don't have that, then you're going to have to replace almost all of your traps every time your wall's like taken down. So it is a useful research to have, so don't get irritated when you have to upgrade this one before the stuff that you really want. Here's some more trap defense, durability, and strength. These are also important. As you see, I only have mine up so much because I'm comfortable with where I have my wall at for now. Especially, at least until I get Mole Shaman. After I get Mole Shaman, I'll probably come back in here and start doing some more research. But I don't have Mole Shaman yet. And so if my wall gets hit and wrecked, then it's going to, if I get all this stuff up, it'll take me forever to get that wall repaired. Just because the higher your wall is, the more health it has, the longer it's going to take to heal up. So right now, I can take tier 4 March, like solo March, no problem. It won't break my wall unless they send siege. So for the most part, walls are useful. Like they are useful until they break. So remember, they are useful until they break. Alright, that's the catch, until they break. So make sure if you're going to use a wall, I'd research the crap out of the health and durability first. Worry about your traps later. Once you get your wall to a certain size, then do your traps. Because if you do the traps with the wall, you'll end up replacing a bunch of traps constantly every time you're hit, and it'll drain your resources, alright? So if you ask anyone, traps will drain your resources. So make sure you are careful of what you're doing with your wall. As far as heroes go, there are some heroes that have passives, like Night Raven has Castle Guard, which is a passive. It gives wall defense. And remember, this is a percentage, so it is a multiplier, not a base value, alright? So keep that in mind when you're upgrading your wall. You want to do the base values first and then do your multipliers after, secondary, alright? There's Shade that also has wall defense, alright, as another passive, Castle Guard. I think there's like one or two other ones. Let's look around, see if we can find some wall stuff. So these traps, oh wait, that's construction. Trap construction. So these passives are also useful to have, but make sure you get your war heroes up first, because if your wall does drop, you're going to need your heroes that have like attack boost. You're going to need that more prominently than your wall, because remember, walls are useless after they break. So that's the big thing with walls you got to remember. So there's other stuff. Here's another trap attack. Night Raven, of course, with the wall defense. I know there's a couple more. At least I thought so. Is there only 2? I guess so. These I'm getting into my pay-to-play stuff that I got from events. So it looks like there's only 2 that have the wall defense passive, and those apply whether they're on your wall or not, because it's a passive. So make sure you check for deployable skills, all right? Which I'm not sure if there are any deployable wall skills, but you know, you never know. IGG might eventually put something out with some kind of like deployable where it only works if they're on the wall type thing. So you never know. But as far as walls go, guys, that's pretty much it. As far as base value for health, or like bare minimum, I'd say 1,000,000 health works really well. But for especially if you want to trap, 1,000,000 wall health is really good for that. My wall works pretty well. It's a little over 800,000. It does withstand a lot of things. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about talents, because there are some wall stuff. There is some wall stuff in here, or trap talents. Now, I wouldn't worry about the trap stuff, the trap offense, and the trap building specifically, unless you are trying to trap with your wall, which it's possible to do. There are people that do it, but like I said, once it breaks, it's going to take a while for it to repair. Okay, so realistically, depending on how big the target is that's hitting you, your wall could last anywhere from like 2 hits all the way up to like a ton of hits. All right, because if the person doesn't send siege and you have a bunch of archers, a bunch of traps, you know, they might be able to take out like 10,000 wall health or 70,000 wall health. I've had hits where people have taken out so little wall health, and it gets pretty insane. Let me see if I can find an example. See if I can find an example of maybe an old attack. What is? Nope, it's not that one. Nope. What point? What do I have that scout? That is a really old scout. What do I have that? Attack turf. Where's my wall? Okay, so my wall is really small here. We're gonna keep looking. I know I have some examples in here. Nope, still really small wall. Iskander, maybe. Nope, really small wall. I can't remember when it was. Okay, 872. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. If someone hits you hard enough, they'll drop your wall. All right, if they send enough siege. Of course, this I can't look at the battle report because this thing is so old, but they can drop your wall if they send enough siege, especially if it's tier 4 siege. Okay. He attacked my turf a while back. Yeah, see, I screwed him up. I have another video based on this because this is a rally that he hit me with a long time ago. This person, I didn't have any wall health left. Oh, that was multiple hits. Yeah, that hit was pretty nasty. Jeez, I know I have some stuff in here. Oh, that's offense. You attacked. Okay. Savage Soul. What is this? Last year in October. Oh, okay. So look. This is what I'm talking about right here, alright? This guy sent me 250,000 troops, alright? He didn't send me any siege whatsoever. I capped all of it, alright? And he didn't damage my wall at all. See that? I had enough traps. Where are my traps at? Okay, so he didn't damage my traps at all, alright? He sent, I'm not even sure how strong this guy was at the time. So the account still exists. He's 553 mil now, but as you see, if the march isn't strong enough or your traps and wall are strong enough, you can cap the entire thing, alright? So I unintentionally wall trapped this guy, alright? And he wouldn't know about that either, because look, he got no scout report on that, guys. So this is another big benefit of having a decent wall, is for all he knows, I have a bunch of troops, alright? But even if I didn't have any troops at all, and I wall cap him, he assumes I have troops, alright? But, like I said, over and over, the downside of this is if they get interested and they send siege at that wall, your wall's done, alright? And then it's time to shield, unless you can cap it with troops. So, maybe I can find one more example. Okay, so here's another example. So this guy sent me, different guy, he's still around? Yeah, so 481,000, or 481 million might. I think I said 1,000 for the other guy. This guy attacked my turf, alright? I completely capped him. This time, I lost a little bit of traps. You see that? I lost some traps, but I didn't lose very much. And he was barely able to damage my wall at all. Which means, guys, he didn't send any siege. And if he did, it was probably like some really weak siege, or he didn't send a lot. And so I completely capped him with just my wall. Like, I didn't need my troops for that. Unless my archers, maybe. But, it is possible to cap with your wall, okay? So, I recommend getting into your wall once you start being able to shield, and at that point you're probably over 1 million troops, and you need to have a decent amount of military research before you start getting into your wall. I really recommend that, because you can't rely on your wall all the time. And your walls, like I said, your wall's only good for a few hits until someone gets wise and they send siege to destroy your wall. So make sure you guys are keeping that in mind. There is some like wall gear. I'll show you what I have for wall gear if I can find it, because I don't have it set anymore. What is my wall gear? So I have, oh boy, so I have this. So if you're trying to do like a wall trap, like, you definitely want some gear for it, okay? And I'm going to show you what my wall gear looks like. And the funny thing is that I've gotten a lot of criticism on my wall. I've gotten a lot of criticism on my wall gear, and I'll explain that in a minute. But right now I'm trying to focus on putting in my wall items. Yeah, it's been a while since I've used my wall gear, or I've even equipped it. So a lot of this stuff I don't even remember. Was it? I think it was the worm seal. No. What was it? What was the other? Oh. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so a bit of rare items for you here. Geez, you know what? I'm going to put my trap stuff back on. I'm going to go in here and reselect all of this so we can look at the stats. So there's a lot of gems not gems, jewels, sorry. There's a lot of jewels that are considered useless that are for trap damage. They're for wall defense, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of speculation that all of this stuff is useless, but it's not. If you get it up, you can trap. Like, you can trap with walls. So if you're going to be trapping with your wall, this is what I recommend. Something like this or similar to this. As you can see, I get an extra 86% wall boost, and I don't even have these gems to gold or jewels to gold. And as you can see, I don't even have a full set of jewels for this. All right, and even still, I have 56% trap attack, 63% trap defense. Like, those are the 3 stats that you are looking for when you're making a set of gear for your wall and your jewels as well. So you want to look for trap attack, trap defense, and wall boost. Wall boost is most important. Trap attack, I'd say, is second, and then trap defense is third important. All right. So these items, some of these, like the chokers, the blight ring, and this horn cudgel, I don't even know how you say that. These items here are kind of hard to make because they have some like rare materials. I think this one might use an eye. Yeah, this one uses an eye, which is, I say it's halfway between a rare and ultra rare. Eyes are kind of hard to get. This one uses Frostwing Hearts. Alright, so, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Okay, but anyway, so the shield's not too bad, but these ivory chokers are kind of difficult, and then this blight ring is the most difficult piece in this set, I'd say. It's second most difficult. It's probably this staff here, the horn staff. So, make sure that you have a decent amount of stats or a decent set of gear before you start wall trapping. So you're going to need your talents, and you're going to need a gear set if you're going to trap with your wall. And it is possible to trap with your wall and not have any troops whatsoever. Like, that is a thing. But like I said, once your wall is gone, it's done. Alright, you're going to have to wait probably over a month. If you have a decent wall, it's going to take you longer than a month to heal your wall back up. It's a pain in the butt. Alright, if you're going to be wall trapping, I recommend getting Mole Shaman. He has a skill that will heal your wall by half of its health, or it's half of its remaining health, or something like that. So if your wall's at 0, he'll heal it 50%. If your wall's at 50%, he'll heal it up to like 75% or something like that. I can't remember specifically, but it's like 50% of its remaining time. It'll speed it up 50% of its remaining time to heal. So, I could be wrong about that, but I think, has it been saved? Are you sure? Yes. Okay, so I think that's how Mole Shaman works specifically, but, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you learned something today, and see ya on the next one. Peace out.